Any unsolved crime is intriguing enough, but some surpass traditional intrigue and fall into the realm of the strange. We're not talking about merely weird, we mean genuinely creepy. Today, we are going to discuss the top 5 most gruesome unsolved murders. Make sure to watch till the end, as we will discuss the most mysterious murder of the century, which got some fresh news this week after 50 years of silence. Number 5. Jack the Stripper. Yes, you heard us right. We're not talking about the notorious Ripper who prowled Whitechapel in the late 19th century, but another killer who operated in London during the 1960s. He too hunted for prostitutes, but had a habit of undressing them after strangling them, so the media gave him the nickname Jack the Stripper. The mysterious stripper killed at least 6 women and hid their bodies around the River Thames. There was even a witness for one of the crimes. Although they were able to give descriptions of the criminal and his car, Jack the Stripper was never identified. Despite the ingenuity of covering the tracks, there have been several solid suspects. The lead investigator on the case fully suspected a security guard named Mungo Ireland. He committed suicide before being officially charged, and the killings immediately stopped after his death. However, some research seemed to suggest that the suspect was in Scotland when one of the murders occurred. That fact left him out of contention for the entire killing spree and leaves us with another horrifying mystery. Continuing with number 4, the Monster of Florence. Beginning in the late 1960s and continuing for the next 25 years, someone murdered at least 14 people in and around Florence, Italy. This case bears a resemblance to the Zodiac murders in Northern California, but more later on that. Il Monstro, as Italians called him, specifically hunted for couples parking on lovers' lanes. He performed his evil deeds with a .22 caliber gun and a knife, but became famous for a gruesome signature. Il Monstro cut off parts of the women he murdered as souvenirs. He may have also gone as far as to have stalked some victims before the murders and even taunted their families after. Police didn't lack for suspects. The most noted was a convicted murderer, Peeping Tom Pietro Pacciani. Pacciani stood trial for Il Monstro's crimes and was charged, only to have the conviction overturned. Theories about the case, such as satanic links, a common suggestion regarding bizarre murders, abound. However, there is powerful feeling among many Italians still that they don't really know the answers to this mystery. Moving on next, number 3, the Snapchat murders. The famous Snapchat murders happened not that long ago. In 2017, Liberty German, aged 14, and her 13-year-old friend Abigail Williams were on a hiking path known as the Delphi Historic Trails, doing what usual 8th graders do, snapping pics and posting them on social media. Suddenly, they noticed a heavy-set man nearby. Libby had the sense to take his photo, a man with his head bent, wearing a cap, strolling with his hands in his pockets. Once he got close to the girls, German caught one more thing, a man's voice, tone flat, saying, "Down the hill." That was the last clue left by Libby and Abigail. Sometime after that, they were murdered. Police have published very little about the investigation. They've said they have DNA, and a couple of times they announced being close to solving the mystery. Daniel Nations, a suspect from Colorado, has been mentioned as a person of interest, but still, he's not been arrested. As of 2020, there are just the threads of a mystery that seems close to a solution, but still unsolved. At least, unlike many of these cases, there's still plenty of time to figure it out. So, even after the girls managed to photograph and also record their killer's voice, 3 years have passed since the double homicide in Delphi, Indiana, and the case remains unsolved. Number 2, the Peasant Hall mystery. Peasant Hall is a tiny, quiet village in the English county of Suffolk you've probably never heard of. Still, 100 years ago, it was home to one of the country's most vicious murders. One night in 1902, a servant girl named Rose Harsant was discovered dead by her father, with her throat gashed from ear to ear and numerous cuts and stab wounds on her body. Her clothing was burned, suggesting that perhaps her killer tried to eliminate any incriminating evidence. A possible motive for Rose's murder immediately appeared during a medical examination. She was unmarried but was 6 months pregnant. Could her child's father be the murderer, concealing the affair? That's what the police thought. They immediately arrested the local preacher, William Gardiner, as the gossip around town was that the two had been lovers for quite a while, despite being married with 6 children himself. Gardiner was charged twice, but on both occasions the jury failed to give a verdict. Before a third trial began, the prosecutor entered a request of nolle prosequi. He ended the prosecution on the case, likely because there was still lacking evidence to convict. Gardiner walked away as a free man without ever being convicted of the murder. In the decades that followed, he was still considered the main suspect by some people. Still, others believed that his wife was the real culprit, killing her husband's mistress in a fit of jealousy. And others think that Gardiner was never actually the father and that somebody else was responsible for the pregnancy and the murder. After 100 years, the case will probably remain unsolved forever. And finally, the most resonating tale of murder to date, the Zodiac killings. These events happened in Northern California between 1968 and 1969. The case even got its own movie, Zodiac, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Mark Ruffalo. The male suspect, famously known as the Zodiac Killer, murdered at least 5 people and attempted to kill at least 2 more. In the first 3 attacks, he hunted for couples. The first 2 victims were high school students enjoying their first date in a parked car. In attacks on the other 2 couples, Zodiac managed to kill the women while the men survived. A male San Francisco cab driver was most likely the last victim. During the killing spree, the Zodiac Killer sent the media a series of letters taking credit for the slayings. The letters covered unreleased details and evidence from the crime scenes to prove the authenticity of the claims. Following the murders of 3 known victims, the Zodiac Killer sent 3 nearly identical letters to 3 Bay Area newspapers. Each letter also held 1/3 of a 408-symbol cryptogram that the suspect said would expose his identity. The killer compelled the papers to publish the letters in full, or he would kill again. A week after the letters were published, a couple in Salinas, California, solved the cipher. The cipher exposed that Zodiac was collecting slaves for the afterlife and wouldn't disclose his identity because doing so would conflict with those plans. In November 1969, after killing the last 2 known victims, the Zodiac Killer sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle that revealed a new puzzle to the public. The cryptogram is called Z340, or merely the 340, because it contained 340 characters in it. Since then, both amateur and professional cryptographers, even the FBI agents, have tried to crack the cipher. It wasn't until December 2020 when an international team finally explained it. The cipher had been unsolved for so long, it had a huge target on its back, and I felt like it was a challenge that had a chance of being solved, said David Orenchak, one of the 3 men who cracked the encoded message. It was an exciting project to work on, and it was on many people's top unsolved ciphers of all time lists. Here's the full text of the cracked cipher. I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise, so they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise death. The revealed message covers everything already known about the case. The notice of the TV show and gas chambers transfers to a call made to a talk show on KGO-TV in which someone pretending to be the Zodiac Killer declared, "I need help, I'm sick. I don't want to go to the gas chamber." In other publications, the killer used the same misspelling for the word paradise, and, of course, there were earlier remarks to collecting slaves for the afterlife. After more than 50 years, the Zodiac Killer mystery remains to be unsolved, and unfortunately, seems like the Zodiac himself will never be found. So, which one of the murders do you believe is the most gruesome? Do you know of a case that tops these? Leave your opinion in the comments below. If you haven't already hit the like button, do it now. Likes help grow our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We hope you enjoyed today's video.